going to show you some fun things we can do with ground glass, which is called frit. So frit basically is the sheet glass that has been ground up into something like a food processor or a blender just to get it to a fine crushed glass consistency. So we're going to use a transparent blank piece of glass for this project. The first thing I'm going to do is determine what kind of a design I'd like to make. So I'm going to draw with a marker on a piece of paper the shape of my blank, just so I know where is the playing field. So I can remove my glass. Now I'm free to design and doodle. So just because I already know what I want to do, I'm going to use a marker. But if you weren't sure, you could draw this with a pencil, erase it until you got it just right. So let's go with something simple. I like circles, so let's just draw a series of odd-shaped circles. Kind of geometric. This is also a good way to show that it's hard to cut glass in circular shapes, so we can cheat the system a little bit by drawing them with frit. I think that looks good. Nice geometric design. So now I'm going to replace with my glass, and because this is clear glass, my pattern is here for me to follow, just like a coloring book. So speaking of coloring books, let's turn this into a coloring book design by doing all of our line work with black frit. Now we're going to be sprinkling frit onto the surface of this glass, and we don't want it to spill off when I pick it up to carry it to the kiln. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a bead of glue all the way around all four edges. This will work like a dam, and it's going to keep all of my frit on my glass surface. Alright, I've got a nice frame all the way around. Now I'm going to start adding lines of glue on my circles. And they don't have to be perfect. Just quickly scribble these circles around. Make some a little wavy, some a little wiggly. Just makes it fun. Alright, while my glue is wet, I'm going to use a fine frit in black, and I'm simply going to sprinkle this on. Actually, let's just pour it on, huh? Coming down close to the surface so it doesn't bounce all over the place. Don't panic. You don't feel like you're going to be wasting this black. We're going to recycle anything that doesn't stick to the glue. So this probably seems like a lot of frit to you at the moment, but we're going to get it all back in the bottle, so don't worry. Alright, our whole surface is covered. We're going to let that soak into the glue for just a moment. Now I'm going to lift up my glass, get my hands under here, and I'm going to tip this back onto the paper. You see our pattern? Set this aside for a moment. Now let's get all of this black frit recycled back into the bottle. So really, you didn't use much frit at all. And there it is. Close that up. We're finished with it. Now to come back and add color to our design. I'm going to flip this over so we don't get too confused. All right. We've got a variety of colors of frit, and frit is available in 20 colors. Both fine, which is like what we used for the black, and a medium grade, so the pieces are a little bit bigger. So you might be concerned about touching ground glass, thinking, why isn't his hand bleeding? He's touching cut glass. When we manufacture frit, it's run through something like a rock tumbler, so all the edges get a little bit smoothed out, so it's safe for you to handle. Even children could stick their fingers in this frit and you wouldn't have to worry about it. So now we're going to add pinches of color. There's no need to glue this frit down. We created this dam, and all of our design is already has glue down, so the frit won't roll around. So I'm simply going to, with my fingers, sprinkle bits of colored frit into each area as if I were coloring with crayons in a coloring book. So I'm just filling them in. So there's a blue center. Maybe that blue center will like to have red around the outer ring. You'll notice that I'm coming down close with my fingers and not dropping the frit from way up high. The higher I hold my hand, the more chances of that frit will bounce when it hits the glass. So let's get down close to it. And a few stray strands just adds to the charm of glass. So don't worry about it getting out of the bounds. Not a problem. So I'm just going to continue sprinkling my bits of frit until I get my entire design completely filled. Now every place I don't put frit will be clear glass. That could be interesting too. So don't feel that you have to fill it completely full. You could actually put it very sparsely loaded so that you do see holes in your frit, and when this fires it'll look like little dots, so it might look quite impressionistic. Let's go back and let's change colors here. Now the orange that I've chosen is a little bit finer frit. It's similar to the black. So maybe this circle can be orange. And you'll notice by using the finer frit, the pieces are closer together and it will resemble more of a paint after it's fired. Not as much air space between the grains of frit. So you could do this with all fine frit or all medium frit. See how this is coming together almost like a painting? So let me start putting some green in the background. Again, this is a great little project for kids. It takes a little bit of time and you can get really creative, and it's a very tactile project, so sometimes just touching it is exciting for kids. You know how kids are. I want to touch that, I want to grab it. So give them a project like this with frit where they're actually literally hands-on experience. Now if I should get frit where I didn't want it, if I was doing something really accurate, I could grab a paintbrush and I could use it like a broom, and I could actually sweep this frit around to create another shape. So if my background wanted to have not just green, but I wanted a section of, let's say, blue, I could sweep the green away and then fill that area in with blue. So it's easy to manipulate frit by sweeping. Might be fun to take some of the old masters' paintings, good art study class. Maybe I'll go on the computer and turn it into a line drawing and recreate some of the old impressionistic paintings by layering different colors of frit. There's an artist named Seurat who did a lot of pointillism paintings. Might be fun to try to teach children about that artist and have them do a pointillism glass project with little dots of frit. So you would continue this project by filling it in as heavy of a coverage or as light of a coverage as you'd like. So in this area you've noticed that I've let it just be kind of sparse, so I'm going to see a lot of dots. This area I was a little heavier with my frit, so the field will be a little bit more solid green. So depending on how much frit you put down will depend on how transparent or opaque the area will be after it's fired. So you'd continue filling this whole project in with different colors, carefully lifting it, placing it on a piece of thin fire paper and firing it to either a full fuse if you'd like a very smooth surface, or this could be run through a tack firing or a contour firing, and it would leave a slight texture to your frit. You can review to our firing chapter to explain those terms further.